So, Star Trek Season 3 has finally premiered. I don't know the exact dates, but I think it's been around a 2-year wait from the Season 2 cliffhanger. And the big question is, has it been worth such a long wait? Well, in today's video, I'm going to be going into my in-depth review of the Season 3 premiere, Episode 1, the Part 2 from, I forgot what the episode's called, but it's the second part of the Season 2 finale. There's going to be tons of spoilers from here on out, so if you haven't seen the episode yet and you don't want it spoiled, this is your warning. Go away and obviously come back later. Anyway, let's get into it. Some of you may have noticed, if you've been around this channel for a while, that there hasn't been a lot of long-form content activity on this channel, and there's a ton of reasons for that, and I'm not going to bore you with all of them, but basically I've been super busy. You can see we're in a brand new studio, so there's been a lot of moving around, a lot of business stuff going on, and stuff like this, this doesn't make any money. I do this for fun, so unfortunately it has to take a back seat. But with Season 3 now out, it means no matter what's going on, I am prioritizing talking about Star Trek. So, let's get into it. I've got my notes on my phone. I'm going to go through scene by scene, talk about what's happened, explain the scenes, and give my thoughts on them. Let's go. So at the very start, the crew are, of course, in danger, and we see Captain Pike basically demanding ideas from his crewmates. He's sort of feeding off their individuality and their individual ideas to try and figure out a solution to the situation they're in, which is exactly what a good leader should do. A good leader doesn't put all his ideas forward and then demand that they're the right ones. He requests ideas from his crew, his friends, his teammates, whatever it may be, and puts those forwards and takes them into consideration. That's exactly what Pike does, and that's what makes him such a good leader, such a good captain. More on that later. This episode cuts back and forth between what's going on with on the bridge and what's going on with the landing party, and of course what's going on with Patel, with Spock and Nurse Chapel. So there's a lot of kind of high-stakes situations in this episode, and it really feels like an action-packed and high-drama opener. Our first scene then with Spock, Patel, and Nurse Chapel. They are discussing ways that they can try and save Patel from the Gorn that's inside her. This whole tension-building sequence is very, very reminiscent, of course, of the Alien franchise. They are fearful that a Gorn baby is essentially going to burst out of Patel's body, which, I'm not going to lie, I felt a little bit tense and I kind of don't want to see that. It's a bit gross. And the shots that they did show of her body and the mutation growth on it, they look kind of gross. So, yeah. But we eventually discover that Patel's allergic to the serum that they're trying to use, and basically it's not looking good. We're then back on the bridge with Captain Pike and crew, and I want to point out at this point, I really like this sort of battle-type armor that Pike is wearing. It's really cool. It's obviously got elements of his classic captain's uniform, but it looks a bit more badass. I just like it. We're also cutting back to Scotty, who is trying to make some kind of camouflage device, I guess. Not really sure. I'm not too good with the tech side of Trek. But yeah, I like Scotty. I like the actor. He's very likable. He's definitely got the comedic side, but also has that emotional element to his character too, which, yeah, I think is great. At this point in the episode then is the first time we cut to the landing party, and we see La'an, who is inside some kind of biological pod, for lack of a better term. And yeah, this is also kind of gross. So there's a lot of grossness in this episode. Eventually realize she's in some kind of Gorn ship, and all of the landing party and other people are in these pods. We later come to find out that they are essentially digestive pods, and the Gorn ship is digesting them and basically turning them into food. La'an is the first to free herself, and she goes around freeing the other members of the crew, and we see that Ortegas is missing part of her hand. Basically, her ring finger and her little finger are gone, and a lot of her skin has been dissolved from all the digestive fluids and acids. It's kind of gross. It's also nice how we see that their clothing has slightly burnt away and eroded, and there's like bits of smoke coming off it. It's really good practical effects. It looks great. Going back to the hand for a second, I quite like that we do see that there's consequences to some of these crazily dangerous missions that the crew find themselves in. Sometimes it's just like, background extra number 1 or red shirt dies, and that's pretty much it. It's very rare that we see actual harm come to the main characters, so something like this is pretty cool. Eventually, I think it's Sam Kirk finds that there is some kind of waste pod where the things that the Gorn ship can't digest get disposed into, and in that pod they find some weapons, so they're able to fight back. Normally scenes like this in movies and shows where it just feels like, oh, the guns are right there, that's convenient. It kind of bugs me, but in this case, it kind of made sense. Like, yeah, there would be things that these pods wouldn't be able to digest, I guess, in this made-up universe. So there'd have to be somewhere for those things to go, and why not be by there? Back now to Spock and Chapel trying to run some simulations on surgeries and procedures they can do to try and save Patel, and every simulation they run is coming up as 100% chance of a fatality. So it's not looking good. During these high pressure moments, we get some back and forth between Nurse Chapel and Spock, talking about their potential relationship or lack of it, and we see some emotion from Spock, which I still kind of find strange to watch. But look, Spock is half human. He's going to show emotion from time to time. And I think it's, even in the original series, it's times when we do see Spock show emotion. That was a lot of S's. They're kind of the memorable parts of his character. Even things like the Spock eyebrow raise. That's intrigue. It's more of his human side than it is his Vulcan side. Anyway, they eventually come up with the idea to try some Illyrian blood, using Una's blood as a donation, hoping that the natural immune system, I guess, of Illyrians will basically fight off any chance of infections that the procedure may kickstart. Back to the bridge and Captain Pike then, they see through the viewing screen that one of the Gorn ships essentially flies directly into a star. So this is the start of a, episode mystery. What's going on here? Why would it do that? It seemed intentional. It just drove itself into a star, or flew itself into a star, and gone. After some back and forth, it seems that they discover the star that they are flying into is essentially the way into the Gorn homeworld, which could spell trouble. As the conversation progresses, hundreds, if not thousands, of Gorn ships leave this area and are heading towards the Enterprise directly into Federation space, meaning this is essentially an invasion. Pike states that they have to warn Starfleet what's coming, but if they get out of this area in range to send a signal to Starfleet, they are going to lose the link they have to the landing party. So, do they warn Starfleet, or do they save their friends? It seems like quite an impossible situation, a no-win scenario, you might say. But that's what Star Trek's all about, right? And eventually the crew come up with a plan. It's kind of 1 in 1,000 odds of succeeding, and Pike likes those odds, so they go for it. Back to the surgery now. They find out that they have a 14% chance with this Illyrian blood that the surgery will be a success. It's low odds, but it's better than certain death, so they go for it. But just as they're about to start the first incision, Spock decides maybe they're looking at this the wrong way, and the best thing to do would be to treat the Gorn inside Patel instead of damaging Patel to get the Gorn out, if that makes sense. Back to the landing party now, and this is where we get the main bulk of action in this episode, and Ortegas gets stabbed by a Gorn. I'm going to take a moment here to say what a massive fan I am of the Gorn designs. Yes, they look nothing like the TOS Gorn, but that's definitely a good thing, and I can guarantee you if we had the kind of technology and budget that we have today for TOS back in the 60s, Gorns would have looked like this. Nobody wanted the alien species in Star Trek to look like men in suits. Nobody wanted that. It was a budget and technology restriction. So yeah, I'm a huge fan of how they look. They're terrifying, they're intimidating, and there's still an element of that original design in them. So yeah, great job design team. I do feel bad for Ortegas in this episode though. She takes all of the damage. She loses half her hand, and then she gets stabbed in the stomach by a Gorn. It's pretty rough, but Lan, I think it's Lan or Sam Kirk, someone shoots the Gorn in the neck and saves her, but she is badly wounded at this point. Doesn't look like she's going to make it. Back on the bridge, and Pike's plan kind of kicks off at this point. I don't really get the ins and outs of the plan again. A lot of this sort of stuff on Star Trek goes over my head. I just enjoy it for the ride. I don't need to know how or why these things are working. It's something to do with being in the middle and this, yeah, I don't really know. So here Pike has this cool line, which like is not cool at all. If I said that line in this scene, I would just get like a sort of reaction from the audience. But he says, "Make us shine like the sun," which just sounds so cringy. But when he says it, when Anson Mount says it, I was like, yeah, shine like the sun, guys. I just believed it, you know? Great casting. Anyway, eventually the landing party managed to escape via a Gorn ship, which Ortegas flies, and she says, I am Ortegas, I fly the ship, or something along those lines. I would have said she's too wounded to fly. That would be my advice, but she manages to do it. She gets them out of there, and yeah, she looks absolutely, no, you know, I almost swore, not good. So that kind of brings the main bulk of the episode to a close. Everything's all good. The crew survived, the landing party are reunited along with all the other captives. I didn't get the plan, but the result of the plan was they trigger a long hibernation for the Gorn. Don't get how or why, but that was the outcome, and that's what's important. Don't quiz me on it. Finally then, the last sequence is Pike going to visit Patel in the hospital, and she is asleep on a bed as he walks in, and he's visibly emotional and upset, and he sits down next to the bed. And he looks up as if, you know, as if talking to God, and he says, Dad, I guess you win, or something to that effect. And I was like, what? Why is he, what? How? And he kneels down and starts praying to God, which is just hilarious for such a sci-fi heavy TV show, right? I mean, the Star Trek have always played with the idea of God, always. But in reality, seeing the characters pray is just kind of funny. And yeah, she wakes up halfway through it and is like, dude, what are you doing? And they chat, and she's kind of like, oh, so I'm alive. There's no Gorn killing everybody. I guess it worked. To which Pike says, look, you're not out of the woods yet, but we're getting there. And that's the end of the first episode. Now it's time for my thoughts. So overall, I thought this was a fantastic season premiere, but my issue with it was, and this is the same with most TV shows these days, it very much was just the rest of the finale of season 2. It was a direct continuation, and I'll get onto episode 2 in another video, but episode 2 felt almost like the start of a new season, the start of a new chapter. But episode 1, in terms of a Star Trek episode of television, I thought was really, really good. It felt high action, high drama, fast-paced, a lot of high stakes. I really felt for a lot of the characters. Didn't disagree with any of the character decisions, which is something that often puts me off TV shows when characters make decisions and you're like, they'd never do that. But this all felt true to character, and the visual effects were fantastic. And I actually have very, very little to complain about. I did a short review on the channel just yesterday just to try and get something up quick, and I gave it an 8 out of 10, and going deeper into my thoughts today, I'm going to stick to that score. 8 out of 10. It wasn't perfect by any means, but I don't have many negatives to say about it. If I had to pick one, I would say, and you guys may disagree with this, I think that it's a shame we're not getting more Captain Kirk. I know this isn't a Captain Kirk show, this is a Captain Pike show, and rightly so, and Anson Mount is definitely the second coolest captain ever. I'm not saying second best, but second coolest. But we've got such a great casting in Paul Wesley. I think he's a great Kirk. And I know he's going to feature more in the rest of the season. We've seen that from the trailers. But it's just a shame to go 2 episodes with no Kirk. I met Paul Wesley last year, and yeah, I just thought he was a really cool guy. A great Captain Kirk. A casting I was always so nervous about. Like, how can you replace William Shatner? The coolest man ever. But yeah, he's doing a great job. So if I had to say one thing, I'd like to see him more involved. We're getting a lot more Sam Kirk than we are James T. Kirk. But we'll get there. We'll get there. I'm absolutely super duper curious to know your thoughts on this episode. Strange New Worlds has been quite divisive so far. A lot of fans think it's just like modern crap. I disagree. I think Strange New Worlds is being fantastic. There was a lot of moaning about the Subspace Rhapsody. Is that what it's called? The musical episode from season 2. People didn't like it. A musical in Star Trek, what's going on? I thought that when it was announced, when I watched the episode, I thought it was brilliant, and I probably know every word to every song. So yeah, I mean, I'm absolutely loving it. It blows things like Discovery away. Like, Discovery just feels pointless. Why did we have Discovery? We should have just had Strange New Worlds, and that should have been the modern era Star Trek reboot. But that's just my thoughts. You guys could have your own opinion, and that's absolutely fine. Let's just discuss it in the comments down below. I'm all up for defending it as a Star Trek show, but each to their own. We can all have our opinions. I hope you guys have enjoyed it as much as I have, because it's great to have Star Trek that I'm just really, really enjoying. That's it from me for this episode. I'm going to try and do a review for every single episode every week. I'm going to do another one right away now for episode 2, so keep an eye out for that. I'll put that up straight after this one. Thank you so much for watching. It's great to be back, and I will be trying to do more long-form Star Trek content that isn't just episode reviews. I'm going in to try and do more lore. It's all just time-based. I'll try my best, guys. Please bear with me. Thank you very much for watching. Live long and prosper, and I'll see you next time on Federation Outpost 111.